Everyone, it's Fred again from Notes of a Nomad, video number 234. Today I want to tell you about what I've done in the past week when I left Whitehorse, the capital city of Yukon, and traveled up to the Arctic Ocean via the Dempster Highway and up to the small hamlet of Tuktoyaktuk on the Arctic Ocean. So let me share my screen. I will show you the map that I showed last time. And if you recall, I put in green when I started here in Victoria, went up and went into all those areas that I explained last time, and up to the capital city of the Yukon, where I am currently, having returned from the trip. Let's just expand this a little bit. You might be able to show it clearly. Last time I did that in green. This time I'm showing in yellow what I did in the past week. So from Whitehorse, traveled up here to the second largest city, which is Dawson City. And then the Dempster Highway starts just outside of Dawson City, and spent the first night in a park called Tombstone Park, slept in my car. Then the second day, drove all the way up to Inuvik and then to Tuktoyaktuk. And on the way back, I left late the one day, got as far as I think it was Rocky River. And then the second day, so it was 2 days up, 2 days there, and 2 days back to Whitehorse. Uh, on the way from Whitehorse to Dawson City, there were fires on the road, and they were talking they may have closed the roads. But when I got there, it was open, although you could still see some of the smoke on the side of the road. So um, then look at what's happened to the trees. Now, in Dawson City is a historical site. There's a lot of upgrades on the buildings. They're from a lot of them are from the 1890s when there was a big gold rush, and Dawson City was the head of that. And you can see Charlie is looking a little bit dirtier, but that was a lot from the previous week as well, because I've still been on the highways. But what you'll notice as we progress that Charlie gets a little bit dirtier than it was even then, as you see in this picture. One of the famous buildings in town is Diamond Tooth Gertie's, which is a gambling hall. And on the wall, it says some of the gambling that you can do is slot machines, blackjack, poker, and roulette. And this sign here, that's expanded a little bit, says that there are 3 can shows nightly at Diamond Tooth Gertie's. So that's one of the tourist centers, tourist sites at uh, Dawson City. The sign at the beginning of Dempster Highway, and this was the sign at the park that I spent the first night at Tombstone Park. Ragged Mountain Land, it says. And you will see another interesting sign that I found fascinating. I just want to share with you what it explained, that it says, like we have the Bering Strait. So this is Beringia, I guess, is the name of the landmass stretching from eastern Siberia in Russia through Alaska to the Yukon. And that's when it used to be connected before it became the Bering Strait now. So that is fascinating that that's the same sort of landscape as you'll find in Russia. And this is what some of the landscape looks like. This is big country. And of course, when you arrive and leave the Yukon, there's a sign. And look at some of the sites that you see. You see the distance, and the roads can be very long and flat, sometimes full of potholes. And then, of course, you enter Northwest Territories, which is once you leave the Yukon. And also, you'll see some of the roads are flat, but you do see from time to time these signs telling you that there are emergency airstrips on the roadway, since there are very few communities, very few airstrips or airports. So if in case of an emergency, airplanes can land on the road. So it says, be careful, watch out for airplanes that might be landing. And this is an example again of the road and what it looks like. I don't know if this was an airstrip, but it was quite flat. And obviously signs that you're entering the land of many indigenous people, and that it's also part of the Trans-Canada Trail. And there's one of the fine pictures of what it looks like. I mean, you just see land, it's big country. There's not much impact from humans in this. So there's a great example of what you're driving through. And this was another example of explaining, Ice Age and not Ice Age, but it does mention two rivers, the Peel and the Mackenzie rivers, which we take ferries across because there's no bridges across them. And the Arctic Circle, you pass that, as you may find on maps, latitude 66 degrees from the equator. And there's one of the ferries. This one, I believe, crossing the first river is the Peel River. And it operates until 1:45 in the morning and then starts again the next morning at 9:30. And you see Charlie's looking a little bit dirtier than Charlie looked in White and Dawson City. And that's us waiting for the ferry. You can see the ferry crossing the river here in the background. And here's a picture as well of what the ferry looked like. Charlie was in the front, and this is crossing the second river, Mackenzie River. So there you can see Charlie on the ferry as well. And I came across a moose, so the moose came across me. I don't know. So I had to wait for him to get off the road. He was running a little bit, so I was following slowly. So that's about the only real major wildlife. I saw some smaller ones, but that I saw wasn't any bears or so on. But eventually on the second day, I arrived at Tuktoyaktuk, or Tuk as they call it. And I was given this map at the information center. The very nice lady, Kala, explained a lot of questions that I had about why the snowmobiles on the side of the road as we're driving in, or maybe 70 kilometers away. And it's because during winter they get ready and that's where they camp it, and they go out, whatever they do, I think fishing, hunting, whatever in that area. And that's their campground. And that's where all the snowmobiles are sitting waiting for snow. That was fascinating. She also pointed out where I could find some home cooked meal. She said food here, and that was Eileen. I'll show you a picture of that. And then this area here is where you could park and pay for a site, and stay the night, which I did. And this is the end of the road where it says big sign Arctic Ocean. She pointed out a couple other details on the map. There's about just over 1,000 or more, a few more people in Tuk, very small hamlet on the Arctic Ocean. And the sun was either going down, setting, or coming up, because I think it never really went down. But this was early in the morning, and a picture. I was at a site on this side of the road. The boat was on land on that side, and that's what it looked like early in the morning, probably around 3 o'clock, if I recall. And this was the sign at the end of that road saying Arctic Ocean. And this was Eileen, who was a fascinating person. I had a meal with her. That day she was extremely busy. She cooks home cooked meals, and you come and whatever she's cooked, you have. I had whale meat. I had goose. I think it was Canada goose, and also musk ox chili, and some ice cream, which is my favorite as well. But she can cook. She is a registered uh, chef and caterer there. She caters for a lot of any functions, but she has amazing history to talk about her life when she went to residential school. She's, I believe, around 75 years old. But Eileen was fascinating. And eventually, in the evening, she invited us back for some tarts, myself and a young American, and met her um, nephew. And it was fascinating to hear his experience of living in the North. So you can see a lot of pictures on the wall. There was a lot of family members. This lady could have been a lawyer if she was allowed to be. And I can tell you, she would have been a fantastic, stroppy lawyer. Amazing lady. So that was one of the persons I met. Also met a couple of hitchhikers. I could mention some of the people. A lot of Americans on the road. They're very popular with Americans. They certainly outnumbered Canadians and Germans in particular, and other Europeans, but Germans were predominant. It's obviously become a thing to do. Let's go to the Arctic, take the Dempster Highway in Canada and go to the Arctic Ocean to Tuktoyaktuk. So there's a lot of, not a lot, but I think that I was told there was over between 3,000 and 4,000 tourists last year that came all the way on the Dempster. Not a lot, but still, uh, not that many Canadians, probably more foreigners. It's got a reputation. So I also met a couple hitchhikers. I picked up one fella on the way to Dawson City, and he had been canoeing with friends for 3 weeks in the wilderness. And the plane that he was supposed to return to Dawson City wasn't able to land or fly because of weather. So he landed in another town on another airplane, and he was hitchhiking. He was a 22-year-old fellow by the name of Cole. Fascinating, very interesting. Planning, he had done environmental engineering and planning to become a hydrologist as well. It was interesting talking to him. The second man was even more fascinating. His name was Loic. He was from Marseille, France. Been hitchhiking since he was 18 years old. He's now 32. Uh, Other than he's been hitchhiking around the world for almost those 14 years, although he did go back to Marseille and start a degree and finished his degree in Montpellier. I think it was in engineering. He says he's never used the degree, but he's hitchhiked around Russia, in China, worked on boats to go to Indonesia, worked on other boats to go to Australia. The man is writing a book. We had a great discussion about what he's planned to do the book. I would look forward to seeing. I hope he gets that book done. I think it'll be fascinating to see what Loic from Marseille has to say about his hitchhiking and what he's learned. And this particular area, you say it says Pingo Canadian Landmark. Pingo is this hump or hill that rises, and it's very famous in this area. And this is where you can view them. And also, this is the hut or the shelter that's at that site. And if we look here, you will see that shelter and a dock. And if you look here at the bottom are somebody's feet in the water. And that somebody is obviously me. So this is where I put my feet in the water at the Pingo landmark in the Arctic Ocean because I didn't have shoes that I could wear, like swimming shoes. And those rocks I could not walk on. So this was the best I could do. But at least I got those feet in the cold Arctic water. Now, one other thing I want to mention before I go is Charlie. This was a video of Charlie after I had spent a lot of money on having him cleaned and fixed up, prim and proper, and he looked spotless a few months ago. And now Charlie doesn't look so spotless. I think the man who cleaned him and the two people would look and say, horrified, what did you do to all my hard work? So that's what Charlie looked like now. But Charlie has been fantastic, very good on the roads, has overdrive, just purrs along and went seamlessly up and back down the tough road of the Dempster Highway. I'm really impressed with Charlie, being 30 years old and done over 300, I think 15,000 kilometers now. It's been a wonder. I really fell in love with what Charlie's able to do. And so I got this sticker for Charlie to say, I made it to Tuk, Northwest Territories, Canada, 69 degrees above the equator. And there was my companion, still smiling. That's Winnie. He's been a wonderful companion. And two little boots, which I think were called mucklucks. And I bought them from Tina, who was making them and selling them in Tuktoyaktuk. So I got them as a gift for someone that I'd like to give them to. So that is my trip and my story about my recent journey to the Arctic Ocean and back. I'm now in Whitehorse and I'm on my way tomorrow morning. I will let you know where I have been in the next video. So I wish you, your family and friends, lots of love and laughter from Fred and Notes of a Nomad. Until next time, au revoir, adios. Bye for now.